Lay your sleeping head, my love, or lullaby, as its subtitle indicates, is one of the finest love lyric in modern poetry. It's a combination of awareness of limitations of human life, its imperfection, and the emotional intensity of love. The poem asserts robust optimism in the face of the transience of human life, and it's an intellectual treatment of love in the form of this love lyric. There is a brief introduction to this poem here. Auden's Lay Your Sleeping Head, My Love, or Lullaby. In this beautiful love lyric, the lover meditates upon his beloved's sleeping head lying on his human, though faithless arm. What is remarkable is the content of the thoughtful awareness which lies in the loving acceptance of love in spite of its limitation. Human life is imperfect, but love, the physical love, is a celebration of the limitation of human life. We notice that in this fine lyric, the sensual ecstasy of a night of love is set against the consciousness of disorder described in the second stanza. So we'll find out what is the disorder in the second stanza. The final appeal being intellectual as much as it's full of emotional intensity. And exuberance of love, the joy of love, whereas the sensuous resources of language evoke an atmosphere of joy. The consciousness of the significance of such a moment arouses an awareness which prevents the poem from being purely an emotional experience. The lover cannot reject altogether his role as a conscious thinker. Auden is interested more in the idea of acceptance of love in spite of its limitation than in the passionate treatment of emotional situation. And the poem has 4 stanzas of 10 lines each with irregular rhyme scheme. There are variations in the rhyme and the rhythm. The poem's philosophical thinking takes us to the fact that since love makes life blessed, and since free choice alone makes love possible and man imperfect, free choice and imperfections are blessed as well. So life is blessed and love is the greater blessing of human life. We may call it empirical philosophy. The speaker asks for his beloved the greatest gift man can receive in the mortal world itself. Auden's beloved love poem Lullaby was written in 1930. It has no consistent rhyme scheme and there are many metrical variations. Suzasa Rabelson writes that it is justly famous, melodiously lyrical and incantorial. It consists of 4 10-line stanzas, mostly unrhymed but regular patterns are there. Line 3 and 7 of each stanza rhyme, and the other pair share consonants or assonance in each stanza. Line 1 and 5, and line 2 and 4, and line 6 and 10, and line 8 and 9, they all have assonance and consonant. The resulting pattern is the A, B, C, B, A, D, C, E, E, D. Perhaps hidden message in the rhyme scheme, bad shade referring to the illicit love. Instead of glorifying the beloved as a goddess, as in conventional love poetry, the lover admits that she is a human being with all human perfection. So, in spite of the awareness of the limitation, the imperfections of human life, man has no choice but to accept love as a greatest gift of the beloved. The lover also in a human being not free from human imperfection. Faithless arm points to the condition of human faithlessness, but that does not affect his love, neither does it detract from his seriousness of the consummation of love. On the contrary, it intensifies the seriousness of his love. So the very awareness of limitations of human life makes him serious about love and love making. And Auden is the poet who believes in all kinds of love, including homosexual relationship, because he was himself having such a relationship with Isherwood. So he is an advocate of love in human life. Loyalty, evanescence and other allied association of love are alluded to in the next stanza, and in the last one, love becomes profoundly human, free from sheer sensuality. The fading away of time, beauty and vision is brought out in the brief references. The lyric is in the form of a dramatic monologue in which the lover addresses himself to his beloved, who is lost in the swoon after the consummation of their love. It's a very delicate moment which makes the opening of this poem. So the poem opens with the description of the sensual ecstasy. The poet begins the poem at a delicate moment when the lovers had just had the fullest realization of the bliss of their physical union. The lover accepts the limitation of the human character and flesh. And having accepted it, he proceeds to describe his amorous experience with an attitude of tolerance, acceptance. He acknowledges the fact of human infidelity. He believes you cannot expect perfection in imperfect human life. So, beauty will die. That's one of the limitations of human life. The charms will disappear, but the lover will continue to love. That's the promise made in the poem. So the poem begins with the speaker addressing his lover. Perhaps in a post-coital situation, he looks down at the lover sleeping on his own faithless arm, giving the reader a bit of pause regarding what kind of lullaby or love poem this is. But this is the text. So let's find the evidence from text. Lay your sleeping head, my love. He's inviting the beloved to place her head upon his arm. It might be faithless. Human on my faithless arm. So human life is not a perfect life, and she should not be expecting consistency of love. It could be faithless. Time and fever burns away. A second limitation of life is, with the passage of time, beauty disappears. Man loses beauty after youth, and there is no U-turn in life. individual beauty from the thoughtful children. So thoughtful children, they suffer possibly from premature aging. This could be the thought. And the grave proves the child ephemeral. So every human life is ephemeral, transient, short-living. And grave or death proves it. So beauty disappears, human beings, they become old and die, and there is no consistency in human life. These are some of the limitations. But the poet, the lover, accepts the bliss of love despite all these limitations. Let the living creature lie mortal, guilty, but to me the entirely beautiful. And that's the final acceptance. She may be guilty, mortal, but she is a human being. So as a human being, the other human being should accept with all imperfection, this feeling of love, this feeling of joy in human relationships. And we continue with the summary. One critic, Edward Mendelssohn, argued that it is the first English poem in which a lover proclaimed in mortal terms and during a sheer night of love his own faithlessness. Hundreds of earlier poems lamented or confessed faithlessness, but the lyric tradition complained of the beloved's inconsistency, not of the poets. So it's the first confessional statement from the lover that he could be inconsistent, not only the beloved. The speaker becomes introspective, musing on how the beauty of the innocent children is robbed from them by the vicissitude of life, by the change in life, the transience of life, time and fever, as well as the looming mortality of all human beings. The grave proves the child is ephemeral, life is short-living. He shifts his focus to the present, however, having his lover in his arm all night. Mortal, guilty, but still for now entirely beautiful. So she may be mortal because she's a human being, and she may be guilty, but the lover will accept her because both are human. And in human life, one cannot expect, one cannot hope for perfection. The fleeting overnight joy is worthwhile even if his lover will eventually age and die, and even if his lover is guilty for engaging in the tryst. So, the beauty will die, the lover will become aged and finally die, and they could be guilty in the love making. This has homosexual overtones as well, because in Auden time, homosexuality was not an acceptable relationship. So we continue with the second stanza now. The second stanza, Auden ruminates, meditates further on the nature of short-term love. The boundaries between lover and lover, body and soul are erased. Although their love is ordinary, the goddess Venus is who makes them feel like they are in the supernatural sympathy with the feeling of love and hope. So the poet believes that physical love may lead to supernatural sympathy in the moment of tenderness, in the moments of bliss from the goddess of love, Venus. These are the thoughts of the second stanza. Soul and body have no bound. So both soul and body, they are intermixed, they are one unit. To lovers as they lie upon her tolerant enchanted slope. It's a language that evokes the sensual ecstasy. The lover is reclining, resting on the soft bosom of the beloved. These are the enchanting slopes. In their ordinary swoon, grave the vision Venus sent. At such a moment of carnal ecstasy, Venus will bless the lover with supernatural sympathy, with a supernatural vision. Of supernatural sympathy, universal love and hope. And the individual love can also aspire for universal love and spiritual transcendence. That's the example of robust optimism in this poem. While an abstract insight wakes among the glacier and the rocks, the hermit's carnal ecstasy. So this passion is not restricted only to the human being, but this human instinct is to be found among the hermits, among the sages and the saints or the recluse who have left the world, renounced the world. They also feel the pangs of love. They are also tortured by. So no human being is free from the instinct of love or the carnal passion. And the poet continues, but we'll try to sum up this stanza now. The stanza concludes, however, with one perhaps discordant element, imagery of the hermit in the wilderness experiencing an abstract insight that awakened the hermit's carnal ecstasy. So this abstract insights of the supernatural may be mixed with the carnal ecstasy. So sexuality and spirituality, they are interwoven. Both are interwoven. The image includes Auden's allusion to the isolation of homosexual men during the era in which she was writing, or the ability for even a hermit to be affected by the pangs of love. The ecstatic experience of the physical union of the lover leads to spiritual communion. So there is a relationship between physical and spiritual in the poem. Despite the ephemeral nature or ephemeral nature of their love, transient nature of the love, the lovers experience mystical ecstasy in their physical union with each other. For the moment, their soul breaks the bounds of the body and becomes one, fused and mingled with each other. Their carnal love is thus transformed into a spiritual union, a source of mystical bliss, such as the hermit experiences in the moments of mystical union with God. So human love is comparable to the godly love, the spiritual transcendence. Carnal love, therefore, is not to be condemned in its own way. It is as much a union of soul, as much the result of supernatural inspiration as the experience of the mystic and the source of a great bliss. That's the concluding statement. The ecstasy experienced by the mystic in the moments of the mystic union with God is not different from the ecstasy which the lovers feel in the sexual union. Hence, Auden calls it sensual. Ecstasy means standing out, and both in moments of physical and spiritual union, their respective soul and body have no bound. It may be an illusion, but it's not a worthless one. So, human being can realize the spiritual sympathy in the transient moment of love or lust. That's what the poet advocates, and we now proceed to analyze the next stanza, the third stanza. The third stanza continues the theme of difficulties of such a meeting. Tries. One imagines the speaker still awake as midnight passes, making all the more real the infidelity and increasing the speaker's uncertainty. So his thoughts are there about the limitation, the imperfection of human life. Certainty, fidelity on the stroke of midnight pass. The poet believes once the lovers have consummated love, the feeling of certainty and fidelity they disappear. In other words, the lovers should not expect perfection in human life in the form of fidelity or consistency. Like vibration of bells, so they will disappear like the sounds of the bell, the peals of the bell. And fashionable madmen raise their pedantic boring cry. These fashionable madmen are, or pedants are, the teachers and the preacher. They will continue telling the lovers, advising them to avoid carnal desires, escape from them, because carnal passion is sinful. Oh, that's the boring cry from these pedants. Every farthing of the cost, all the dreaded cards foretell shall be paid. The warning is the lover will have to pay the cost of their love, and they must evaluate the huge cost that they will have to pay for the love making. But from this night, not a whisper, not a thought, nor a kiss, nor a look be lost. But the poet asserts, the poet reassures the beloved or the lover that they will not lose any chance of making love. The tokens of love are whisper, thought, and kiss and look. So he will not like to avoid, he will not lose a thought of love, a look of love, a gaze of love, or a kiss. So these are the means to realize love or carnal passion. And he doesn't want to lose the signs, the token of love, because of the boring cry of the pedant. So we continue with the summary statement on the third stanza. Another cryptic line refers to fashionable madmen, which might suggest that those who have no vision larger than the fashion are the real madmen. These are the people perhaps who use conventional morality to judge their meeting their love. True enough, every farthing of the cost shall be paid, meaning that conventional justice will come to haunt them. And this justice is related to the idea that love or carnal love or physical passion is a sin. And man is a sinner. The idea of conventional morality. And he will have to pay for the sin. Even so, this night is for the speaker and his lover. Whatever other may say, the pedantic, boring cry of the fashionable madman evaluating love in every farthing is also there. But transcending all, the sleeping beauty lay like the innocent babe in his arm, who finds the mortal world enough. So as long as the beloved stays with the lover, he is happy, he is contented, he is blissed. Her dreaming head could overcome the nights of insult by involuntary powers of love. There may be an afterthought of insult or disgrace after the consummation of love, but some invisible power, the involuntary power, will help the lover overcome this feeling also. The lover criticizes the condemnation of infidelity by the fashionable madmen who raise their boring cry against the union of lovers. The lovers will pay every farthing of the cost when once their physical union has ended, they will suffer an emotional recoil and deficiency of feeling. So after making love, the lover may feel some vacancy. That could be the interpretation of the lines in the third stanza, that you will have to pay the cost. And now we proceed to discuss stanza number 4, the closing stanza. And this is another statement. All this will happen in future. From this night onward, they will be fully satisfied in their love. After having satisfied their carnal desire, they will grow entirely indifferent to each other. This is what they are presuming. That after making love, they may be indifferent. They may feel satiety in love, but they will continue to love. The fountain of love will dry in their hearts, but there would be no whisper, no thought, no kiss, no look be lost. They will continue to shower the tokens of love. As in many Auden poems, there is a sudden reversal in the third stanza. The speaker makes an ironic shift in attitude away from the timeless feeling of ecstasy associated with the passionate love to the more realistic view that this moment of the tenderness in ecstasy may vanish at the stroke of midnight. Once the lover have reached the level of consummation, they become indifferent. But some involuntary power will renew the energy, will revive the feeling of love. Even though he realizes nothing is certain, his lover's faithfulness may evaporate, even though his moment of passion may be short-living, as the latest fashionable madmen's ranting, and even though this night may cost him dearly, the speaker is ready to pay the cost and suffer whatever pain the cards of future may heap upon him. At any cost, he wants nothing to be lost from this one magical moment, fleeting night, not a whisper, not a thought, not a kiss, nor a look. So the poem continues to be optimistic about the human love. And now the closing stanza is a kind of a prayer. Like most of Auden's poem, the closing line have a benediction. Look at the line. Indeed, in the fourth stanza, the speaker returns to the beauty of their love. When dawn comes, he hopes it will be a day of welcome. So midnight may be the moment of disenchantment in love after they have made love or consummated love, their love. But the morning will bring a fresh breeze of love for the couple. Beauty, midnight, vision die. The thought of beauty may disappear once they have consummated love. In the night, let the winds of dawn that blow softly down your dreaming head such a day of welcome show. So morning will renew the hope for lovers. And the lover should welcome the dawn of love. Eye and knocking heart may bless. So eye and heart are the agency or the seats of passion. They should accept, find the mortal world enough. They should be contented, satisfied, happy with the imperfection of human life. Noons of dryness find you fed by the involuntary powers. Dry noon will be filled with a new energy inspired by the invisible power, the power supervising love will renew